Let's dive right into unpacking a really fascinating and honestly deeply pragmatic concept from our source material today. We need to face a pretty harsh reality right out of the gate here. The world doesn't always play fair. No matter how honest or hardworking you are, you're probably going to face some sort of betrayal at some point. And no matter your skill level, someone less qualified is inevitably going to try to take your spot. But the good news? You don't have to just sit there and be a victim of circumstance. You can actually build an unshakable defense by mastering a concept known as dark intelligence.
Okay, so let's set the stage by contrasting two fundamentally different ways that people operate out there in the world. Look, most people are just playing checkers. When they hit a wall or face a challenge, they get super emotionally reactive. They get angry, they argue, they totally drown in their own feelings. Right? But the strategist, the person who actually survives and ultimately leads, they're playing chess. While everyone else is busy reacting, the chess player is quietly gathering information, they're observing, and they are coldly calculating their next move.
And honestly, that beautifully illustrates exactly what dark intelligence actually is. I want to be super clear here. This is not about being evil or malicious. Not at all. It's a protective psychological armor. Often, it's something born from real moments of defeat or betrayal, but instead of letting that break you down, you use it to build strength. Dark intelligence listens, it watches, it stays quiet, and it only strikes at the absolute perfect moment. We're talking about building an ethical shield for your own protection, not forging a weapon so you can become the villain.
To make this whole concept super actionable, the material organizes this into a three-pillar playbook. Pillar 1 is the internal game, Pillar 2 is the outer shield, and Pillar 3 is the quiet execution.
Let's jump straight into Pillar 1, the internal game, where we'll look at detachment, morality, and outcomes. So true power always begins by mastering your own internal perspective, way before you ever open your mouth to say a word to anyone else. We really see this in the principle of detachment. You've probably heard that classic Machiavelli quote about how it's safer to be feared than loved, right? Well, in our modern context, this basically means you refuse to be a slave to any relationship, emotion, or outside opinion. Think about it. Fear of loss is what makes you weak. If you are desperate for a deal to close or you're just desperate for someone's approval, you're going to compromise your values. But the second you are genuinely willing to walk away from the table, boom, you negotiate from a position of absolute strength.
Which brings us to a really crucial point. Real power often lives right there in the gray areas. This is what we call ambiguous morality. Now hold on, this doesn't mean having zero morals. It's actually about pragmatic ethics. It's focusing intensely on the best long-term outcomes for the most people rather than just worrying about superficial niceness. For example, imagine you've got a really toxic team member who's just destroying workplace relationships. Giving them endless second chances sounds nice on the surface, sure, but the pragmatic, ethically ambiguous choice is to remove them immediately to protect the broader organization.
And that mindset leads directly into outcome obsession. Look, amateurs want to win arguments, professionals just want results. Have you ever tried practicing strategic laziness? It's fantastic. It means focusing purely on the 20% of activities that drive 80% of your actual results. You have to stop wasting your energy trying to prove you're right in every single minor disagreement. Ask yourself, what real-world result am I actually trying to achieve here? And then put your energy only there.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, the outer shield, which covers opacity, adaptation, and exposure.
There's another brilliant Machiavelli observation here that perfectly captures this concept of calculated opacity. Say someone at work asks about your weekend, and you just verbally vomit every single detail of your life to them. You become completely transparent and honestly, totally forgettable. But if you just smile and say, "Oh, I had something really important to take care of," and then you naturally change the subject, you intentionally leave gaps in your story. You let their imagination do the heavy lifting for you. A little mystery creates curiosity, and curiosity almost always leads to respect and influence. So to actually construct this outer shield in your daily life, you need to master 3 specific traits: calculated opacity, an adaptive persona, and controlled exposure. By deliberately practicing these 3 things, you completely control your own narrative, rather than just letting other people define you.
Let's zoom in on that adaptive persona for a second. Think about water. Water takes the exact shape of whatever container you pour it into, but it is still, fundamentally, water. Having an adaptive persona is not about being a fake or a fraud, it's simply about adjusting your presentation. If you're talking to a highly analytical person, you give them hard data. If they're highly emotional, you connect with their feelings. You are just adapting to speak their native language, making it effortless for them to connect with you, all while you remain as unshakable as a diamond underneath it all. Rounding out the outer shield is controlled exposure. Here's a massive truth bomb. Information you reveal can literally never be unrevealed. To master this, you have to create a curiosity gap. You want to reveal your capabilities gradually over time, rather than showing off everything you can do on day one. Always, always keep some knowledge in reserve. Doing this ensures you consistently maintain hidden leverage, and it totally prevents people from ever pigeonholing you.
Finally, we reach Pillar 3, the quiet execution, featuring silent leverage and psychological echo.
Okay, this is where it gets really good. This is where we take your carefully crafted internal mindset and that outer persona, and we turn them into invisible, undeniable influence. Amateurs think power is loud, right? They think it's raising your voice and making demands. But real power? It whispers. Silent leverage is about letting your mere presence shape the entire dynamic of a room. How? By embracing conversational pauses. Just let that silence stretch out, so the other person nervously fills it and reveals way more than they intended. You do this by holding alternatives in your back pocket during negotiations that you don't even need to mention out loud. And you do it by consistently adding massive value without begging for a gold star. Patience is literally your ultimate leverage.
Now, as you start to wield this quiet influence, you really have to understand one fundamental truth about human nature. Every single person you interact with is secretly walking around asking these three questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? And do you value me? Recognizing that this is happening introduces a devastatingly effective trait known as psychological echo.
Psychological echo is basically about becoming a mirror for people. Instead of just shoving your ideas down someone's throat, you reflect their own deepest needs right back to them. If you notice someone's core value is security, well, then you present your new project by focusing entirely on safety and stability. If they clearly value recognition, you frame that exact same project around achievement and status. You see, you aren't changing your core message, you are simply changing how you present it. When you reflect people's needs back to them, you aren't manipulating them. You are actually deeply and genuinely connecting with them.
Which brings us to our final and honestly most critical point today, the ethical shield. Remember, we are building armor here, not a weapon.
All of these traits, the detachment, the ambiguous morality, the calculated opacity, they must only be used to protect yourself and to create genuine win-win situations, never to cause harm. But listen, all this knowledge, without application, it's completely worthless. So here is your challenge. I want you to pick just one of these pillars, or even just one specific trait we unpacked today, and consciously practice it for the next 7 days. Just observe. Watch how the world responds to you when you start operating with deliberate, strategic calculation instead of your default emotional reactivity.
You know, the most dangerous person in a room might be the guy with nothing to lose. But the most valuable person in that room, that's the one who truly understands human psychology and actually uses it to make life better for everyone involved. Which leaves you with one final choice to make based on everything we've covered today. Which kind of person do you choose to be?